Expedition 4 is coming up for Arc Raiders with the window opening up next week, and with that comes a lot of the debate on the value of the reset this time around. We're now hitting the cap for what we'll see for standard rewards, which on one hand allows players to catch up if they missed out on an Expedition window, but also limits those that are diehards still grinding out everything. Me personally, I think I'm seeing a bit less value, and for the first time, I'm finding myself questioning if I'll do it, though I'll likely still do it just to have something to work towards again. But the incentives are certainly not what they were with Expedition 3, and likely what people would like to see them be, independent of prior comparisons. However, one thing that a new reset brings along are a few pain points that I think have been existing since the launch of the game, or more specifically, since Expedition 1 and that first reset. This I wanted to talk about and discuss with you today, and while October's major update promises some updates in the way of what we're discussing, maybe some, maybe none are addressed, drop your thoughts on what you'd like to see adjusted in the future. Perhaps some of these ideas may be seen by Embark and could be pitches for the future of Arc Raiders, but let me know your thoughts down below. Drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders and other FPS coverage. I'd love to have in the community. Finally, check out my friends over at Advanced GG, where code Espresso can get 10% off your entire order, but more on that later. For now, let's get into it. So, a reset. This time around, we're seeing a few changes to those rewards, and also to what waits on the other side of that reset. That we've already had this discussion, but a quick recap. This expedition will provide mystery blueprint rewards, upwards of 5 for 5, 10, 30, 50, and 100,000 total damage against any Arc or Raiders, in place of those normal skill point rewards. This has a set pool of blueprints that you can see on screen what is possible. You'll have a Raider outfit to earn. The patchwork level 1, 2, or 3 depends on if it's your first, second, or third expedition, or if you've done all of those, the newest set is for the 4th expedition of the Zenith outfit. Then you also will get plus 12 stash expansion, which will be the penultimate expansion before the next expedition is the final cap at plus 60 compared to the base version of the game. However, if it's your 4th expedition, you've done them all, you will not receive additional skill points upon reset. 15 is that cap, and then consecutive buffs like your Scrappy bonus, repair, and XP boost, those are capped at 3 expeditions. A note that was pointed out to me was in the initial blog discussion for the expeditions, only found though in that original blog post and not mentioned again since, but the expedition will continue those bonuses but not expand them further. So you're giving up all of your gear, bench progress, level progress, everything for some new items in return, but perhaps not for the same value or degree as what we had before or what we should have, depending on who you ask. However, regardless of what happens, I think perhaps one of the bigger pain points to persist with a reset comes progression updates. Level 1 to 75, quests, and other empty space and rewards, and that's what I want to talk about and pitch kind of some changes that I'm hoping to see in the future. First, let's start out with the core progression here. Level 1 to 75, this hasn't changed since the launch of the game. Outside of cosmetics, there's nothing tethered to your level besides skill points. Like, that's the only thing as you go along you actually progress and unlock more of. Every level granting a new skill point to use. I mean, hell, even pre-expedition, like if it's your first time, maps aren't even tied to your level progression, which may be actually kind of weird to think about that we had these locked. If you've played for so long, you put in so many hours that you just probably forget about that, but those were even locked behind rounds played. Dam by default practice range at 4 rounds, Buried City at 8, Spaceport at 12, Blue Gate at 18, Riventides at 20, and Stella at 24, that even those weren't tethered to your overall level progression. But cosmetically, one thing that's always kind of bothered me was that nothing changed with each reset. I remember the launch window pre-Expedition 1, I rushed so hard last second to try and get part of the Sforza outfit done, because between a Battlefield 6 post-launch coverage, Arc launch, and then Black Ops 7 launch, when we were still doing a bit of COD stuff on the channel, it was truly the busiest I'd ever been with content, trying to stay on top of and grind out and provide meaningful content simultaneously for 3 games that it limited how much I could really go in on specific games. There's only so many hours in the day, so I think I finished at like level 66 or something like that before the first expedition, and I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. I got most of what I want. I think I was only like missing the cape or something, but then the reset happened and I saw that I could do that again, and I was like, oh, I have another shot at this. So thinking it was strange but not questioning it, because it still is to this day my personal favorite outfit, I went with it. Having been level 75 each season since, though, within the first like 2 weeks of each season, it is something that I'm like, this should change. I personally think that it should be a seasonal reward that you end up getting, showing exclusivity of like, hey, I went through the level 75 gauntlet and I've done it X amount of times. So I guess you could also say tether it to like expedition window. I'd actually probably lean that way, so it's a less of a fear of missing out things. So in this ideal imaginary world, pre-Expedition 1 was the Sforza skin. Expedition 1, level 75 was another, 275, another, 375, another, and so on and so forth. But I'd like to see something like that adjusted. Quest rewards are also in a similar fashion, but not quite to the extent of something that has kind of lost most of, if not all of the value because of that same sort of unchanging factor. Here's the thing I gotta state up front, because I know that I'll probably get yelled at in the comments. Yes, quests are meant as a guide rail to help you learn the game as a new player or build you back up as a returning player. It's not meant to be a system that rewards you with the craziest stuff, because then it devalues loot runs, spawn knowledge of where like blueprints and things can happen, PvP or PvE encounters that can grant you better gear, boss fights, all that kind of stuff. But the system as we have it now, I think, is kind of flawed. Like, for example, cosmetic rewards are a thing in some of these quests, right? I still rock some of those early rewards on my Raider to this day, but the problem is that once you earn those, you'll be tasked with the same exact thing for the same exact rewards, the next reset, the reset after that, the reset after that. And it's not like duplicate items where you can have multiple of them in your inventory. It's truly just not rewarded at that point. So my hope for an adjustment would be simply to have additional rewards per expedition or per season of the same category, like a charm or backpack or something. I don't need it to be anything grand or crazy, but just something that doesn't take away from the value of completing that quest a little bit. Or another way you could do it is just simply XP to help speed you along in regards to progression. For many who don't know, back before the launch of the game during tech tests, some quests even had XP. So it's a thing that has happened, it's easy to do, and adds a bit more value to those quests instead of an air quote reward you wouldn't get otherwise. Now, those are the things that are in place right now with the progression systems we have and things like that, but I think when I consider reasons to come back and grinding out levels again, 2 systems is a little limited, but I think that they could absolutely do some cool stuff here in the future that I would personally like to see. I mean, they've already said that we're going to have new systems of progression coming in that October update, stating many players maxed out their Raider Den and hit the skill point ceiling. Frozen Trail will introduce new goals and more ways to shape your Raider's progression. So what's that mean? Well, while we don't have the answers to that, here's what I hope to see. Firstly, something that I think could be simple, and tying back to that level 1 to 75 thing, would be a prestige system of sorts. We've established that skill points are the only functional thing tethered to your level, right? So what's the harm in allowing players to go further than 75? My pitch? A seasonal prestige. Functionally, your skill points are locked at that base 75. Like, you won't earn more than that. Maybe you can end up granting like another 1 to 5 perhaps for like capping out each next successive prestige, but only like by hitting 75, but not a lot, so that it doesn't create this visible divide in the power structure. But it would allow players to work through iterations of maybe say outfits as they continue to play. Think of Patchwork Phase 1, 2, and 3, but rank related, offering a reason to progress that level that you can probably sit at 75 for a month plus for some players and have some sort of exclusive benefit with bragging rights to show off. So we mentioned that we want to see things updated for a seasonal skin, 1 to 75, right? But like, let's imagine that's Phase 1. Introduce 2 air quote prestiges for players to go an additional 150 levels, and then you have your Phase 2 and 3 right there with new colorways, new added details, all while not necessarily stretching resources thin if it's a matter of having teams designing rewards. Just kind of uncapping the progression to a degree, not offering anything other than just simply going through levels, or if you want to throw other stuff in there, I think that would even make it more incentivizing, but I think that could be a cool way to just allow players to progress further without much overhead in a developmental standpoint. Additionally, I think it'd be cool to see trader ranks and reputation systems, kind of taking what we have for quests, but expanding on that. I'm kind of imagining it like that, where you have specific challenges always available, changing depending on the season, so that it's not just the quests ×2 in repetitive nature, but also that it's like, unlike quests, bouncing from one trader to the next. You just have these specific workable challenges that will gain you reputation with each trader that could then give you bonuses like discounts or something. So for example, let's say there's a reputation system based off challenges for Tianwen in particular, a weapons specialist, a challenge based around weaponry we get. So let's say it's something tough, but also easy. So like, deliver a Jupiter blueprint to Tianwen, something that you can find on any queen run, limited to obviously like 1 to 2, maybe 3 per match. I forget the spawn limit, because you can get one from the main queen core, but also the harvester puzzle has a drop rate on that too. I just don't remember how many can go from that, but tough challenge because it's known on how to do that and people would be going for it, but it's also not something that's impossible or anything like that. But let's say you get, for completing that, 5 to 10% off purchases for that season for completion. So like your ammo, your weapons of the Hullcracker, or like Anvil if you want to buy from there. Next season, perhaps that challenge changes, but the reward is still available, like scaling levels of incremental bonuses for each trader by completing certain challenges and tasks. Something that interacts with the core of the trader while rewarding you for continually progressing through challenges and gives you more and more incentive to like rank up your trader relation. And then finally, one thing I'd like to see is like clubs or clans. This, taken directly from the finals in principle, it would, in theory, add a ton to do, but on a sort of community-wide level. For those unaware, clubs is like the clans feature in the finals. I think it's still PC specific, but it offers like its own group chat features for you and your members, clan tags next to your usernames, easy ways to find matches with your squads, like looking for player type of thing, but more importantly to our end of the discussion, progression systems of their own. Now, clubs end up having progression systems, daily contracts, and bonus XP available where it's not anything too crazy, which I think we can expand upon, but at its basic level, this allows clubs to progress communally, having another progression reward and additional bonuses along the way. Each contestant in the finals, or raider if they just ported this one-to-one, would have a number of ranks they could climb through based upon completing daily challenges. So rookie is your rank for completing anywhere from 0 to 30 contracts, contender is 30 to 50 contracts, and pro is for completing 50 plus contracts. This both offers more progression options and challenges to do like on a gamify this type of scale, but artificially keeps players on a longer term grind as well, as within the finals I think there's only like 2 daily club challenges that you can end up doing to rank up with. So if I'm not mistaken, that means it's like 15 days minimum to reach that contender rank, and then of course 25 to reach the pro. Ultimately, in the finals, this is a much more smaller scale progression system. It doesn't offer an end game style reward system or anything like that. You only have bragging rights and some XP bonuses while playing together, but it's absolutely a system that could be expanded upon a little further to offer, again, much more progression to work with. The way I envision this is that you have something like the events we know of now. You have this, but specific to clubs or clans or whatever we're going to call it in Arc Raiders, in which you have those sort of incremental rewards you'd otherwise see based off of merit. You put those behind each daily challenge you can work towards and make it like 50 tiers or so. So one contract or challenge completed equals one of those rewards, and then you end up having rewards that change out every 2 months and are like extra added incentive to play with or in a group, maybe not like partying up per match, but like in a social community setting, you know? I think that could be something that also adds some depth and layers to it with, again, very minimal overhead. I feel like you just need to create cosmetic rewards each season for that. Now, ultimately, this is all just the ramblings of a guy that loves to progress through games and loves to grind stuff out. Is it a true end game experience? No, that's a different story for a different day that we can have that discussion later on down the line. But when it comes purely to progression, this popped into my mind again thinking recently about the upcoming expedition where, like, again, I'm probably going to do it just to have something to do to grind out, but at the same time, like, thinking about that repetitive nature and how nothing really changes for these items fundamentally, I'd love to see some of those adjusted. So that said, I'd love to get your thoughts down below. What do you think of some of these changes? What would you like to add to a progression system, subtract, alter? Let me know your thoughts. Now, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Before we do, a quick heads up, we have partnered with my friends over at Advanced GG. Again, as we've mentioned, a bit under the radar the last few months, but now going into the summer, ramping that up more and more. Advanced is the healthier energy supplement option where I use it daily as my comparable cup of coffee. Currently drinking that raspberry lemonade. Magic Rainbow Sherbet's also another one that's one of my favorites, but I'd highly recommend, and we actually co-branded that along with a few other items on their site, like a 26-ounce ice shaker. But love this stuff. If you're looking for a replacement for your own cup of coffee, give it a try. If you decide to give it a go, code Espresso and get 10% off your entire order. But no sweat, appreciate you hearing me out on this. And of course, just checking in on the videos here that you made it this far. But that said, that's going to wrap it up. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below on what you think of these progression system adjustments, the pitches here for this, anything you'd like to have thrown into the mix, feel free to let me know. If you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, drop a like, and of course, subscribe for more Arc Raiders and even more FPS content I'd love to have in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.